Hi everyone, welcome to week 5. We only have week 5 and week 6 left. It's flown by. This week we're going to be talking about effective guidance interventions. So I'm going to ask that you read chapter 10 in your textbook about effective guidance interventions. And then I'd like you to watch a couple of videos, one from Eastern Connecticut State University about teaching our children understanding challenging behavior in young children. And then I'd like you to watch a TED Talk about Happiness 101, teaching our children the habits of happiness. They're both relatively short videos, and I think you'll like them. So for this week's discussion, we're going to be talking about effective guidance interventions. So sometimes there are behaviors in classrooms that are behaviors we may not like, but they don't always require very intensive interventions. In those kind of cases, what kinds of strategies could be used in an early childhood classroom? For example, a child, calling out, a child doing, I guess the easiest way to explain is doing typical child things, but we want to teach them how to be different in that situation, whether it be being able to walk quietly in the hallways or knowing when it's their turn to talk or sharing with a friend. So sometimes children can be developmentally appropriate, but we may see behaviors that we don't necessarily want to see, and we want to have opportunities to teach the children other behaviors. So I'm thinking of, again, behaviors in an early childhood classroom that don't require intensive interventions. In this kind of case, what kind of strategies could be used? And then think about how you decide when those strategies are likely to be effective or when you need to use a more intensive intervention. And I'd like you to use very specific concrete examples in your post. So give examples of the behavior, of the intervention, and then how you would know that that intervention is likely to be effective. And if it's not, when would you need to have a more intensive intervention? So for week 5 assignment, we're going to talk a little bit more about children modeling adult behaviors. And I know we touched upon that quite a bit with our rules, modeling for the children how to develop positive rules and things we should do in the classroom. But when we're talking about modeling adult behaviors, we also have to think of and be introspective about ourselves. Do you know what your hot button issues are? For example, my hot button issue has always been tattling. It makes me crazy, and I know that. So I really know that I have a low tolerance for that particular behavior, and I have to make sure that I'm very measured in my response when it comes to tattling. And I have to really be present in the moment and think about the positive communication strategies I need to use rather than letting it really get to me because I know it's my hot button issue. So, how can your reactions to behavior have an impact on a child's behavior? And if there are certain reactions you need to be very aware of so you can be more effective, like my reactions to tattling, I know that I have to be very aware of that. Think about how you express your feelings to model positive language and behavior for your students. So, we did that within our conversation about communication, but think about that with regard to your hot button issues and make sure you give some specific examples. And I do have an example there of if I demonstrate sharing behavior, then children are more likely to probably share with each other, share toys with each other. So that's just a little bit of an example. And those are our assignments for week 5. Make sure that you have your assignments in by Saturday at midnight and your initial response to the prompt in by Thursday at midnight. Know that this week is the last week where there's any allowance for a late assignment. The criteria for grading a late assignment would be a deduction of 10% per day for a late assignment. But please know that in week 6, I'm not able to accept any late assignments. So make sure you plan your time wisely. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I would love to hear from you. And if not, I wish you all a very good week. And we're really getting to the end of the course. One more week left after this week. Take care.